Are we live? Are we doing it?
I kind of like it when there's banter during the
Sure.
the
We
intro.
can have a little bit of banter.
A little bit of banter.
Little bit of banter. Boom. I kind of ruin the fun when I say that. Welcome in, everybody, to the fourth episode of the Final Vibe podcast. We're excited about this one. The last episode, I told you, it was the first time that Andrew and I were together in person in studio. We were sitting in big brown leather chairs, and we had a vision for a studio, an in-person studio with a table and fancy microphones and acoustic paneling. And slowly but surely, we are putting those pieces together. And not only have we put those pieces together, but we've added a big one, a guest in Jay Wallis, a field reporter in the state of Texas, more specifically the city of Dallas, which puts him in one of the top 5 television markets across the country. So this is a big get for the Final Vibe podcast. Jay, welcome to the podcast. We're thrilled to have you.
Kevin, it's great to see you as always. Great to be here. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for a while, and I'm glad you asked that. We can dive right into the fact that we do and we have known Jay before this day. So that's worth mentioning. I think that we go back to college. I think we've known each other probably since 2012, maybe?
Yeah, 11, 12, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Andrew, you're also here.
I am also here. Were you guys in the same class?
No, we were not.
Okay.
He was 1 year above me.
And I was 1 year above Kevin.
Yes.
Right.
So I'm the grandfather.
Yeah, I guess you are. Yeah.
It happens a lot.
Which is why we go to you for advice all the time.
But Jay, you're older than I am.
27.
No, you're not. Okay.
Wow, Andrew. Accomplished a lot as a 24-year-old.
Oh, yeah, I'm sneaking up on 30. Feels good. Kevin, you 29? You 28?
28.
28. When's your birthday?
December.
December.
12/10/1991.
The
Very
day
good.
after my birthday.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Oh,
kind of
nice.
an interesting fact. Yeah.
That is interesting.
I think that there's something to be said, and maybe there's a little biased here, but I think that people born in the month of December are just more successful.
I think you guys get cheated out of a birthday, really, with the Christmas hype.
We
Well, it
do, but I
happens
think
all the
that I
time.
think that turns into success because we had at a very young age, people like Jay and I had to learn and adapt to what life would be like with half of the amount of presents that other people get, and going through those trials sets us up for success in the long run.
Sure. I like
Trials.
it. I like
Not
it.
as many gifts. Trials.
Yeah.
Sure.
Jay, tell us what it means to be a multi-skilled journalist.
Oh, wow. A label that I have to explain all the time since it's on my business card.
Well, that's your fault, don't you think?
Yes, I did put in my job title when I got my business cards. It means I do everything. I shoot, write, edit my own stories. I can be in front of the camera. I can be behind the camera. I can work digitally. I can dirk. Did I say dirk? I can work on air, off air. It's the way I learned how to do the business. It's the only way I know how to do it. Sometimes I work with people. I love working with people, but also have the ability to take on a story, a project, and do it completely on my own. That's a multi-skilled
Sure.
journalist.
And that's an interesting title. I want to unpack it a little bit and get to know more about yourself. I think people listening to this might have a unique relationship with journalists in the sense that there's something special about being from or living in Columbia, going to Mizzou, in that we are surrounded and have been surrounded by journalists and people who want to be journalists and tell the news to other people for a living, right? But not a lot across the country. That's not a normal thing. There aren't journalists everywhere, and we don't have an ability to text them and be in group text with them and go on vacations and engage with them. So we don't know what it's like to actually have a journalist in our life who we can talk to. And when people start throwing around phrases like fake news, or you hear these negative things about journalists, it's hard to remember that those are actually people who do this for a living and get paid to do it. And they want to probably inherently, for the most part, they want to be a positive light in the world and spread the news, whether it's good or bad, still spread the facts to people. And you do that, and you've done it for years now. And again, top 5 market, and you didn't just get this job right out of school. You worked your way up from a small town in the middle of Missouri on an NBC affiliate as a college student to now covering some massive events over the last 5 years. So what is that? I want to unpack that. Is journalism something you've always wanted to do? and what is it like to do it now? We're going to cover all of these things, but let's start with that. Is journalism something that at a young age, did you always want to grow up and tell people what's happening around the world?
No. Start out with sports. I played sports all my life. I wanted to be a sports reporter. I didn't know if I wanted to do TV, magazine, play-by-play, whatever it may be, newspaper. But I love sports, and I wanted to tell stories on and off the field. So I went to Mizzou to be a sports journalist. I worked at KOMU, the NBC station you mentioned, covering football games every Friday night, doing sports stories, and
High school football.
high school football all the time, which I enjoy. I love being at a high school football game.
Well, you're from Texas.
Yes.
High school football is different.
We do high school football right in Texas.
No, you guys
Do
do
you
it the
do it?
best. Yeah.
You do it right, you said.
We do it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We've been doing
It's
it
not
wrong.
good.
Just want
It's-
to put that on the record.
It's not good enough to be the best. You do it right.
right. We do it right.
Which implies that everyone else does it wrong.
yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Yeah,
That's
go
exactly
ahead.
what I'm saying.
I saw a high school football game in Texas. It was on another
Yeah.
level.
It's great.
Not how we do it here in Missouri.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Good.
high
Go
school
ahead.
football.
I've seen what I thought was an impressive collegiate facility in Texas when I was there one time, and someone
Mhm.
told me that was a relatively small high school, and it
Mm.
just had a football stadium that was quite larger than most college facilities that you would see.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe a bit tangential, but what makes Texas football better than other football? Like logistically, seriously, are the jerseys better? You have better facilities, parents care more? What is it?
I think part of it is you have a lot of athletes that are at the top tier that you're going to find in any state. There are amazing athletes in the entire country, but so many compacted in different places all around the same area. It's just at another level, the type of players you have playing. And beyond that, the excitement for it. Everything revolves around it. When you go through your week, when you're at school, I know a lot of schools will say that, but everyone's thinking about the football game. Is it on Thursday? Is it on Friday? You know, when it is, where it is, everyone's going. You have your different groups that you're going to be a part of. There's the band, there's the cheerleaders, the football team. It's hard to explain unless you've seen it. You know what? Friday Night Lights, the TV show, you might think, oh, this is just Hollywood. This is just,
Tim Riggins.
there you go, Tim Riggins. This is make believe. It's not really like this.
It's
not-
actually pretty close.
It's not too far off.
Not too far
It's
off.
not too.
What
far
about
off.
the movie Friday Night Lights? Have you seen that?
It's all right. It's okay.
I think it's a great movie. Is it accurate though?
This is, yeah. I think same thing. It has some
Yeah.
accuracies.
Sure.
I am fine going on the record with this. I love movies. It's a hobby of mine. Not big into sports movies. People are going to hate me for that. That's okay.
Really?
I'm not. I love sports. Don't really like sports movies. No. They seem to kind of blend together for me. They're all very similar. Same peaks, same
They all
valleys.
exactly. They all have the same
Same
ending.
type
Oh,
of
yeah, but it feels good
script.
every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, but if you
If you know that the feel
See,
good
I think
is
Kevin-
coming, are you
Kevin's-
going to feel as good
Right.
when it gets there?
Okay, so here's what I would say. One of the reasons I like Friday Night Lights, the movie, is because they lose.
sure,
Not because
sure.
they lose, but because you didn't necessarily see that coming, and it was a real life depiction of what it looks like to be heartbroken.
Totally sure.
It was good.
I struggle with movies necessarily about a bunch of high school kids. Doesn't really vibe with me.
Sure. Name one.
A high school movie that I like.
No, that you don't care for as much.
Well, if we're going, I think it's generally just younger people as the main cast. I'm not big into
Hold on, like Luck of the Irish.
One of the greatest movies of our time. What year did that win an Oscar? Was that 99?
Ask Siri, she'll tell you.
I was gonna go with Stranger Things,
That's
Goonies. These movies were revolved
that's-
just around the kids.
Sure.
Hey, more power to them.
we lost the
for it.
sports element.
Yeah,
Let's
we
go
did.
back to Texas football.
Texas football.
Movies that feature people who are going to be on BuzzFeed articles in 15 years with the like, where are
Yeah,
they now?
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
sure.
What is Macaulay Culkin doing right now?
Yeah. Well, so, and I'm glad that we talked on this. A person like yourself, Jay, you have two things that you can tell a person if you're sitting next to them on a plane. You can say that you're from Texas, or you can say that you're a journalist. Both things come with
I like that.
immediate implications. A person is putting you in a box and assuming things about you. Let's unpack them. and see if they are correct.
I did not ride
This
a
is a good
horse.
quiz.
I did not ride a horse to high school.
Didn't ride a horse to high school. And I think people listening to this, and I am guilty of this, a person from Texas, I think that there are specific traits that a person from Texas has, and I think that there's specific things that they believe and they want to do. You grew up in Texas your entire life, correct?
Correct.
And just saying that doesn't really mean anything because Texas is the size of most countries. So where did you grow up in Texas?
Rowlett, Texas.
Okay, let's break that down.
Yeah, how do you spell that?
Rowlett.
Where's that closest to? Which city is that closest to that would make me go, oh yeah,
It's a suburb of Dallas.
Dallas, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't just say Dallas.
Hey,
No.
normally I just say Dallas.
When you say suburb of Dallas, how far of a drive from Rowlett to Dallas?
So like downtown Dallas?
Yeah.
25 minutes,
Okay.
20 minutes.
So that's the same as me saying I've been born and raised in St. Louis, but it was about a 25-minute drive from my house to Busch Stadium. So
There you go.
I get that. I
You
get that.
it. And it makes it easier for conversation. You don't have to do what I just did
Sure.
and explain it.
So part of Final Vibe and what we want to do is inspire people to finally pull the trigger and do the thing that they want to do. And our goal is that there are a lot of people eventually doing a lot of really cool things. And our goal is to talk to people who are doing those things and ask the kind of the why and the how that they do it. And when I look at you and your life's projectile and where you are and what you've done, there's no doubt that you've been working hard for years to be where you are today. So what is it about you? At what point in your life did you decide that you are going to do the thing and become the guy that isn't just a statistic that goes to the journalism school and then finds a different job, but you're going to go to the journalism school and you are going to be on television covering massive, life-changing, world-changing, historic events? What went into that? At what point in your life? Was it in college? Was it in class? Was it before that? Was it after that? What kind of goes into you deciding that this was going to be the path that you were going to take forever?
So like I said, sports got me into the industry, and I got to Missouri and I started working for the TV station. Going to Missouri helped me realize how many people wanted to do this, especially sports, beyond news. And for good reason, there are a lot of people that want to be sports journalists. And I quickly found a lot of talented people around me, a lot of people who had a similar vision for me. And I decided early on, every step along the way, I'm going to try to be different. News is so different in the way I just pointed at Andrew and Kevin, how they consume news. We don't sit down at the dinner table and turn on the 5 and 6 o'clock news. That still matters and is very important, but people get on Twitter, people get on Facebook, and what you see and what you want in your hand on your phone is different than what you need and what you want on the TV. And this is something that was talked about in class, but I also just realized in how I consume news. And so I decided early on, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's sports or news, I'm going to try to be different. I'm going to try to find different ways to tell my stories. The way I tell many people who want to do this, I say that if there are 4 TVs where you can see the 4 main stations in your market, everyone has the same story. Everyone has the same interviews, right? You recorded the same interview. I want to look different than the other 3. They're going to likely all look the same kind of live shot, same kind of writing. I want to write it differently. I want to edit it differently. I want to decide to construct the story differently so that if people are flipping through the channels or people see the story on their phone, they pause for a second and say, wait, this is a little different. This isn't like what I normally see on news. I'm still informative. I'm still factual. I'm still giving you what you need to hear, but I'm also showing you something you didn't expect to see with that story. And that's something that wasn't necessarily taught to me, wasn't necessarily something I had to do, but I remember very quickly I told myself, I'm not going to do this just the normal way.
Well, that gives me 2 thoughts, if I may. So that makes me think, firstly, you said when you first went into journalism, on the outside, journalism seems like one of those markets that is extremely intimidating, especially at Mizzou, because it's a hyper competitive market. How did you deal? And this will transition into what I want to ask you based on what you just said. How do you deal with the intimidation factor that comes along with joining a school that is famous for journalism? Like, how do you not feel like another fish in the sea?
You build tough skin pretty quickly. And what I mean by that is you need to be able to give your work to someone that you trust, someone, not anyone and everyone. You need to find the balance of giving your work to everyone and getting 30 different opinions. That's overwhelming. That doesn't do you any good. You also don't be shy enough to be afraid, not shy. You also don't want to be tentative enough to not want to share your stories with people and get criticism. But find, to your point, very early on, I found those 5 people. Hey, watch this story. Help me make it better. How can I write better? How
Yeah.
can I edit better? And then they come back and they say, this could have been better. You could have done this. You should have done this. I don't like this. Maybe try this next time. And you get tough skin and you say, okay, I didn't do as good as I could have. I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to get better. And that's what helps is when you feel intimidated, when you see someone else's work that makes you go, man, that's better than anything I could have done.
Yeah.
Don't let that get you down. Say, okay, I'm gonna work to be better than that person. And that's a part of the tough skin. You don't feel upset when you're not good enough. You say, okay, no, I'm gonna make myself better enough. I'm gonna put in the extra work. I'm gonna talk to people. I'm gonna get critiques, and I'm gonna get to that point.
I like that a lot. It sounds like you just kind of have to be a shark, honestly. You
Right.
can't. So, would you agree that the common denominator, or at least one common denominator in every major news anchor, major news reporter, anybody in the news business who's made a name for themselves, do you think they all have that common thread? Because there's just no other way to get to that level?
I think so, especially early on, especially where you're in market. I don't know my exact market from when I was in East Texas, but when there are hundreds and thousands of just reporters at your same level doing the same thing every day, you have to be able to attack it. I remember in my first market, I would just spend extra time off the clock working with editing software, looking back at my work. I would take a story that aired in the 10 p.m. news. I'd stay an extra 30 minutes, and with the extra time I now have, let me make this a little different. Let me try something else. Let me write this differently, revoice it. Let me try a different stand-up that's never going to air. Stand-ups when I'm talking to the camera. I'm in this story. Let me shoot this, edit it in, try to do some different software techniques. No one's ever going to see it, but it's going to help me be better because then I might be able to do that down the line. You have to be aggressive. You have to put in the work.
Differentiate yourself from.
Totally. Yes. There's so many, especially with social media, there's so many reporters out there doing the same type of live shot. One of the things that I've said since day one of my career, in my stand-ups, I never want to stand up. I know that sounds weird, but stand-up is when I'm in the story. If I'm in the story, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to walk and talk. I'm going to walk and show you something I need you to see that I need to show you. I'm going to edit some type of graphic that's a part of my stand-up that's not too much, but adds to the story and helps you out. If I am just standing up in front of the camera with a mic in my hand, I talk, and then we go back into the story. There's no purpose to that. I always want to have a reason to put myself into a story to add to it. And that's just the approach I've had since day one.
Yeah, well, we've seen that a million times too, you know. And I like that. It's cool hearing this because with Final Vibe, you know, it's all about differentiating yourself. That's not a
Sure.
word. That's not a word that we've used up until now in the jargon. But if you're not differentiating yourself, then you're bound to sort of fall into the crowd and be unnoticed.
Well, and I've known at times some of my storytelling, some of my stories, they're not as traditional, and some people don't like them as much, and that's okay. That's totally fine. I love getting critiques and advice, and my ears are always open. But I do know that it might feel a little weird for some people, and that's okay. Because again, I am going to try to be different.
Well, and I've got a question. Do you feel like you've failed more because you're willing to fail and you're sort of pushing the envelope a little bit, not going down that traditional reporting and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, do you feel like you've learned more through your failures because you went for it, you know?
Absolutely. To go back to my sports days, I'm always swinging. I'm going to strike out sometimes, but I'm going to go for the home run. I want to go for the story that really has an impact and is different. Yeah, one of my stories, sometimes I'll put a month into it. When I was in Austin at KView, the ABC station there, I had a story. I can remember back to it that probably had a couple too many edits. Was a little could have been simpler in a certain place. And I talked through it with my news director, and he gave me great advice and talked to me about ways I could have done a little differently. I sent it to one of my mentors, and he gave me critiques. And then the last thing he said is, after he said all the critiques, but you know what? You did something different. And I love that. Keep trying, keep doing this. And that's someone that eventually helped me get to Dallas. He is one of the people I've talked through with my work all the time. And that last note, I take in the critiques. I absolutely take that in, but I also love that last line because that motivates me to keep trying, and don't worry about missing every once in a while. As long as, again, we're talking journalism here, as long as you get the facts right.
Don't miss too big.
Right. Not miss.
Jay, what happens when you miss too big?
Yeah, not missing that way. You always are having to.
No, what happens? I want to know. You get fired.
Well, right. Yeah, you got to get it right.
Has a news reporter ever been fired for saying the wrong thing?
I'm sure.
No, they have.
Sure.
That's for sure happened.
Yes. Yeah. That's the foundation. Anytime you're writing and you're doing research, make sure everything's correct and factual, and then you can color it. You can color around the edges.
Cool. What does, when we look at journalism as an industry, what does success look like? I think it's an interesting profession in that most people who have a job know that they need to hit X amount of sales, or they need to send X amount of emails, or whatever it is. I feel like with journalism, the more successful you are, the more intense the story is that you get to cover. And you've covered some amazing stories in a short amount of time as a full-time journalist on the field. You've covered, the biggest that comes to mind, I remember when the Austin bombings happened, and that was something that was on the feeds. And then it was like, oh my gosh, there is a person who is anonymously and randomly setting up bombs in Austin, Texas. And then it wasn't just a couple hours, days later, you were standing in the same exact spot that I saw just go through whatever the turmoil was. And you're standing on the street explaining the situation and breaking this down for the people. Is that success? Is the fact that you get to cover that crazy big story?
No, it's a great question. And it's different for every person. For some people, success is how many Emmys you have, how many awards you have. For me, that'd be nice, but I'm not going to mark my career based on how many awards. I'm going to try to do good work, but that's not going to impact how I do my story. I'm always going to do the best I can. And if awards come along with it, great. I see success. I think you're onto it. What I would say success is, and I'm still working on it in Dallas. I've only been there 9 months. I think success is where you have the heartbeat of the city you're working in. Because the importance of what I do and what I try to do is I want to report on North Texas. I want to report on Dallas. I want to know what my city needs and wants to hear. Those two words. What does Dallas need to hear and what do they want to hear? And you blend that in with what you cover. And sure, the Austin bombing, you bringing that up, I was on the morning shift at KView when that was happening. So I was going into work about 4 a.m. every day because I was reporting for the morning show. These bombings happened late at night, happened in the middle of the night. So I was waking up with the news that another bomb had gone off. Jay, get out to the scene. You need to go live. And I'm going out to a place with police and I know I need to do. People need to hear from a place they can trust. There's so much stuff out there on social media, and you have to be careful what you consume. And I know I need to do my job to tell people what I know, tell it correctly, be concise, and get them. That is the news they need, right? We don't want to hear that. It's not fun to report on these sad things happening in the world, but it is. We need to know. We need to stay informed. We need to know about someone that's setting bombs off in our city. That's scary, but that's what you need to know. And that certainly felt like success at Austin, getting to be there and tell such an important story.
So here's an interesting question for you. What, in your opinion, do people need to know? Specifically, I want you to unpack that word need. Like, you're a journalist. What do people need to know? I mean, are there things that we don't know that we should know? What do we need to know?
People need to know. People need to know what's impacting not only their lives, but the lives of the people in their community. It's important to realize there are going to be pieces of news that might not directly impact your life, but it is important for your community as a whole. I think it's important for you to feel a connection to the city you live in. Even though I haven't worked in Dallas my whole career, the cities I've been in at the time, I always get to a point where it feels like a second home when I'm in Longview. I want to care about what Longview cares about. Just because, as someone right now who doesn't have a family, I know there are stories out there I need to tell and people need to know about, and I need to know about that involves maybe childcare or school systems where it's not in my life currently, but it's still important for me to know that so I can empathize and understand what other people are going through in my city. Because local news is very different than other types of news where we are embedded in our city. My purpose is to report on North Texas and Dallas. And sure, sometimes that expands to a topic about Texas, about the country, about something that is bigger that also ties. But at my core, I want to tell people what impacts them and what impacts their day to day lives when they send their kids off to school or they go to the grocery store or they get in their car or they fill up their car. These types of things, I want to take the steps to do the research, to ask the questions that other people might want to ask, right? Our city, mayors, school budgets, the stuff that might seem boring for some, but it's very important that we know that these things are being looked at and questions are being asked. And so I feel like my job is to look at that, ask those questions, and then give people back, again, to your point of need, what they need to know.
Cool. Interesting. I was just curious.
So Jay, up until 2015, and I told you I wasn't going to bring him up,
Okay.
but I want to ask the question. We'll open the door. Up until 2015, when Donald Trump took the escalator down to the podium and said he was going to run for president, news and media had been a certain way for quite some time. And it changed that day, and it's changed and been different every day since. And there's no doubt whatsoever that the president has changed the way that news is shared and the way that news is perceived and accepted by your average person. You are an average person who just also has an ability to share whatever the news is with those people. What is bias like in journalism? Because you still go into the voting booth and you vote for somebody, and you still watch the news, and you still have conversations with family, and you still have beliefs, but at the same time you still need to tell the people of Dallas and the world what is happening from a factual standpoint. So how is the term fake news and what has transpired across the journalism industry over the last 5 years, how has that impacted you as you kind of walked into it at the same time that this change has happened? And what do you do to prevent your personal beliefs from kind of transpiring through the stories that you then tell?
When you see a minute 30 story air on the news, you see it on Twitter, online, there are multiple conversations and people and eyes that are on that story, whether it be the script or the video or the conversation that we're having with this topic. To your point of having emotions and opinions, it's a team effort. There are multiple people who talk through the issues that we're covering every day. Yes, I'm a human being. Journalists are human beings. But what I will tell you through my personal experience of multiple newsrooms, I have not noticed some hidden agenda, some underlying motive. Usually it's a conversation about sharing a story, looking at the numbers, breaking it down, and the idea that I'm not just putting a story together all on my own. I am having multiple people of all different types of opinions and thoughts and perspectives look at it together. And there is a key distinction between there are local news stations, there is cable network, there are sports stations. While we all are media, we all serve different purposes. And the way that we tell stories, you still have to know that we are going to do our best to. We are a mirror of society. Local news is a mirror of society. When there are issues that people talk about, news is negative now. I just can't watch the news. It's so negative. We are covering what's happening in the world. It's not that the news is negative, it's the fact that there are negative things happening in the world. We're telling you what's happening. And there are conversations about how to order the stories that we cover, which stories we cover. There is no one person at least as far as I can tell, there is not a single person at a news station that I've worked at where they just supersede every opinion. Yes, there are managers, and yes, there are different pieces, but we are always talking and discussing and having healthy arguments about how we cover things. And you have to realize when you see, whether it be literally a minute, 30 seconds, that's a common length for a news story. There are hours that go into that usually of conversation, of discussion, of gathering. There's a team that put it together. And yeah, we see it. The news reporters, we see the comments, we understand, we know. And the way that I fight it, the way that a reporter fights it, is you keep telling the truth, you keep reporting, you keep digging into the facts, and I do the best job I can, and I can't do much more than that.
So one thing I would like to know is, as technology has advanced, more people can be civilian reporters, if you will. I wonder if 50 years ago, bias was more easily done. It was easier to get away with because the sphere of influence was so much smaller. So is that a good thing for news now, that people can capture an image on their iPhone and it can be on YouTube in 2 seconds? Is it good that we can capture things on Snapchat and send it to our friends instantaneously? Does that keep reality in check, or does that convolute the overall news message that the world gets every day?
I think it's good and bad. I think it's good because there's a chance to capture history in more places. These things that happen won't just be in textbooks, won't just be in articles. There will be a video that lasts forever that will remind us of what happened at that day in that moment. So we'll be able to capture history more. But what I will say is it makes it that much more important to find sources and places you trust. Now, I'm not just telling everybody, just trust me. Everyone listening to this right now doesn't know me, doesn't know my work. But what you need to do is be diligent in going and finding places where you know, when I see this person tweet a video, when I see this person share a video, I know they did their due diligence in making sure this is something I can trust. This is something I know is true. Because to your point, if you just scroll through Twitter on a day of a major event or of something that happened, you have to be careful about context, about the way video is shot, the text that goes along with the video. And so it's important to make sure you know where you're getting your information and finding places that you put in the time to figure out if you can trust or not. Because 20 years ago, a city might have 10 sources for information and now there's 200. And that's a part of conversations we have too in a newsroom, by the way. Through my company, we do a thing called verify. And all that is a big part of that is when something goes viral, if it's something people are talking about. Remember I talked about the need and want, the idea of telling people what they need and what they want. Well, if there's something on Facebook that is spreading to millions and millions and millions of people, that's something people want. They want to talk about it. They want to share it. And you have to and sometimes what we'll do is we'll do a verify and we'll say this video, this post has been spreading, has been viral. We wanted to make sure that this is true and this is factual and that you can trust it. And so that's a part of something we do as a news station, but honestly, anyone and everyone can do that, right? It's important for people on their own to see a photo, to see a headline, and not just share it, not just comment on it, not just accept it as truth, to maybe take 5 extra minutes. Let me read this article. Let me see who this person is, who tweeted this, who shared this, before jumping to a conclusion or just accepting something as truth.
It's never been easier to find truth or to find a voice that you deem as truth. If you look back at the 60s and 70s, almost a majority of Americans received national news from Walter Cronkite on TV, and he was the voice. And when you think about it, that's almost scary to think about today if there was a person who spoke to 40-50% of Americans every night. But at the time, that was what we had, and he was a well-respected person to do that. And now there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who want to share their thoughts, opinions, or the news. I watched the protests that happened across the country over the last few weeks. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people on Twitch live streaming the protest as independent journalists. And they have a backpack and an iPhone and a tripod, and they are doing nothing that CNN is not capable of doing. And they're just sharing the story from the perspective of a 19-year-old on the streets of Minneapolis. And I find that extremely interesting when you look at how many voices there are now, and trying to then narrow those down so that you get a more broad worldview rather than a very narrow one. And I think that a lot of people have kind of gone the one route where they surround themselves with people who have the same mindset as themselves, when they could utilize Twitter and Facebook and Instagram to surround themselves with a lot of people that they 100% disagree with. And while it can be frustrating to see those tweets come across your timeline and go, oh my gosh, they really think that, it can still be helpful sometimes to see that other angle and to know that, okay, there's there's a lot of people who think whatever that issue is, that's how they look at that. That's how they believe this. I think that more and more people need to do that across the country. How do you do that? Do you have a broad range of news that you look at? Do you just kind of, because you're out there, do you see it live happening? And what does your day look like from a media consumption standpoint?
I'll tie this back to what you were talking about earlier about differentiating myself. The way I learn to storytell is not just news reporters. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of news reporters from across the country that I follow. I watch their work. When one of their stories pops up, I want to see how they put it together. But there are a lot of YouTubers who are great storytellers. I mean, phenomenal storytellers. There are people on Facebook. It sounds silly, but there are people that utilize TikTok in the way they edit and the way they are creative, where I see something and I'm like, with the right story, I can kind of pull that element. I could use that. Now, I don't force it. I don't say tomorrow I'm going to do that. I'm going to edit a story that way. But I get a story and I kind of put that in my head. I put it in a bank. If I get the right story, I'm going to use that because that could be a creative way to get a point across. And it's local news. It's YouTube. It's Facebook. It's TikTok. It's TV shows. Again, as a cinema guy, I love my cinema. Sometimes I'll watch a movie and I'll see a way that something's shot, an interview that's within the movie. Someone's talking to someone, the way they shoot a two shot. I've never thought of it that way. Or I see something where they shoot through someone's glasses and they rack focus. They change the focus where you're looking at the glasses, then you're looking through the glasses. It's like, I haven't done that yet, but I saw that somewhere and I'm like, that's a creative way to show something looking through someone's glasses. Now that's just one specific example, but you're talking big picture too about opinions. And hey, as someone who minored in religious studies in college, I love different opinions. I like learning the way other people think. I like learning things that's not just the way that I was raised. Now, I have my own beliefs, sure, and I have my own ways I think, of course, but I never think it's bad to try to learn from others, whether it be storytelling or just the way that people cover news too. To your point, there's no reason that person on Twitch can't be one of those voices that you learn to trust that I was talking about earlier. You can have a news reporter. I would hope you can have some local news reporters you can trust, but it could also be someone on Twitch that you know they're going to put something out that you might disagree with, but is worth your time to look into and to hear and to try and understand.
So let's level it up. A little three-way conversation here. Do you guys think it's a civic responsibility to diversify your personal news feed? Because I think one thing that is maybe more disturbing than we think about is that our lives are so highly customized now. You can't get on Netflix without seeing a list of movies that match you 95 to 98%. You can't get on Twitter without seeing all the people that you have chosen to follow. You don't have to follow anybody you don't want to. Same with Facebook, same with Instagram. You get to see all the images you want to follow. If you're into fitness, all you're ever going to see is fitness. If you're a Democrat, all you'll ever see is Democratic propaganda, etc. So do you guys think that we're doing really the world a disservice by not diversifying our feeds? I think we are, but I mean, I could probably do a better job. And do you think most people aren't? And is that why so many issues seem to be so polarized right now? I'd just be curious to hear what both of you guys have to say.
I think so. I mean, I look at all my life, people have said, wow, you can talk to anybody. You could just have a conversation with anybody. How do you do that? And a lot of what it comes down to is the fact that I do open my brain to other ideas and concepts and thoughts. Every morning I listen to a short, I guess it's a podcast, a news break from NPR, Fox News, CNBC, and the New York Times. And it's fascinating because all four will cover the same story every single day, but they will have different tones and different headlines, and they'll approach them differently. But after you listen for 20 minutes to all four of those, you have a general idea of what's happening. And I can pull from that what I think is relevant and real and important to me and what in the conversation I'm going to have. But if I have a conversation with a person on a plane who is the person who is in an echo chamber of whatever it is, there's a chance that I'll be able to, I know exactly what you're talking about for sure. And we can have a conversation about that, and then we can dive in even more. But I do think that is one of the reasons why some people are able to step back and look at some of these larger issues that are happening across the country and go, okay, let's look at this logically. And I think it's because instead of just having their way is the way, they're able to say, okay, this is the way that I believe, but there probably are some other beliefs and thoughts, and let's hear what those other beliefs and thoughts are. So I try to follow people on Twitter who I hate. I mean, you just don't like reading their tweets.
You got to do it.
But you have to do it. And you see it and you're like, really? And then okay, I guess so. That makes sense. And this tweet's got 400,000 retweets. Okay, so this is okay. Got it. All right.
Totally.
And then that's a thought process. And then you just kind of work through that. But to shut that off and pretend like it doesn't exist because you don't believe in it is extremely dangerous, in my opinion.
Is it easier to do that?
I would imagine it's easier.
You live a happier life if you do that?
You would live a much happier life. So there's pros and cons to it. And I'm struggling with that myself. There are certainly pros and cons, I would say, for sure.
Jay, give us your hot take.
Well, Kevin stole the word I was going to use, so I'll repeat it and add my own coloring to it. Dangerous. I see it as something that's dangerous because, again, Kevin used this word too. It's dangerous because it's easy. That's the thing. Where you didn't have a way to customize your life. Even 10 years ago, I feel like. It's really ramped up since we were all in college. It is so easy to only take in what you want. And that feels so dangerous. This is not picking sides. This is every side. This is all sides. When you only soak in, you only hear what you believe, then it bolsters. Are there birds in the?
Was that a bird? Did we get a bird in the mic?
We got a bird.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jay.
It's all right. It's all right.
The birds were. I'm glad someone else was distracted by the birds.
Yes.
So I get concerned about the bird, man. The bird. Okay. I would love to ask you about fake news because I'm super skeptical of written media because it seems like written media, and correct me if I'm wrong, written media has the greatest room for error because you can fabricate truth more easily than you could obviously with an image. I know we have great editing software out there. You can do anything, right? I think sometimes when people see things on the internet, you forget that we've made movies like Transformers and Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. You can do crazy stuff with the camera, right? But in terms of the written form, what I see all the time, especially now with all the hot political issues going on, is people just blasting articles that sort of blindly support their opinion, and they're building up their ammunition for their argument, and they're just blasting it into Facebook. They're just launching it into the social media sphere. So what's the deal with fake news? And is that like a real thing, or are we all just in denial about what's out there.
Through my company, I actually had to do training. I created videos to help train the journalists within our company to fight this, to fight misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation.
It's a war.
It's out there. My company gave me the assignment. These stories didn't make air. They said, we want you to do videos where you help show reporters what to look for, what to fight, what's the difference between a story that has an opinion and a story that has an agenda attacking this person. The way to reverse image search. This is stuff anybody can do, but how journalists, if you see a tweet that says something when they were at a certain rally or in a certain place and they saw this happen and it has 17,000 likes, you can reverse image search and you realize that image was on 17 other accounts and that's probably not a real person.
Well, so really quick, explain that to people who might not know what that means.
Yeah, let me slow that down. So, yeah, on Twitter, I mean, there are images for each account. There are softwares anyone can have on their laptop where it searches the entire internet database to see if this photo has ever been used before.
Okay.
Because oftentimes these fake accounts just pull an image and just attach it on there and pull it from somewhere that's been used many times before. And through my research to help reporters, I found a tweet that was supporting a certain side and had a lot of likes and a lot of comments and a lot of support for this comment. And you reverse search the image and it's been attached to dating sites and all these fake accounts. It's not real. And that's a sign as a journalist or anyone. You need to be careful. This piece of information is likely to not be true. You need to make sure it's true. There was a story. I'm going to pass along a story. There was a story that kind of went semi-viral in Dallas. I think you all have heard of the Dallas Cowboys. I hope you have. They're an NFL.
Is that an American football team?
American.
Is it the American football team?
There's only one.
Now, don't make me feel happy. You know, as a Cowboys fan. Yes, I am.
Who is that one quarterback?
The
guy who had all the concussions. Was his
Troy
name
Aikman?
Troy Bateman?
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
Troy Aikman.
Yeah, we're doing this now. Okay. Yeah. So, the Dallas Cowboys. There was a report. Hold on.
How do you feel about the starfishing on the star?
The starfish.
Well, I guess it was a snow angel, right?
Yes.
Terrell Owens.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that big? Big flex.
Yeah, he should
flex.
not have done that. That is.
It was great for media, and you know it. You're in journalism, you know it was great.
It's disrespectful.
It was amazing. I loved it.
Disrespectful to the star?
To my heart.
I have a question. Is Texas a state or a country?
Both. Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah, that is a fact. No, scratch that. That is a fact and an opinion. So, Dallas Cowboys. Back to a serious note. There was a report that a Dallas Cowboys, this was last year or earlier this year, one or the other. Since I've been at WFAA, there was something on Twitter that said a certain Dallas Cowboys wide receiver had been shot. Someone commented on this tweet and said, "My dad is a Fort Worth police officer. He can confirm this." Ended up, that wide receiver later put on Instagram, I don't know what everyone's talking about. I'm in my house right now.
Making pancakes.
He was fine. Yeah. No reports of anything. So, well, by the way, just so y'all know, when people, say fake news and whatnot, when this happened, we didn't share it. We didn't push it out. We called the police department. We called the sources we could trust. We went into go mode. When we saw this, we knew if this is true, this is going to be big. This is going to be the story of the day. But before we start, that's also a part of it. As news reporters, you've been asking me about fake news. It's also making sure you don't share, you don't expand the flame before you know it's true. Because guess what? I could have retweeted that tweet that said this wide receiver was shot. I'm not saying it. No, I'm sharing it. And that's something you have to be careful for. Our news director got moving, and we made sure that we could potentially confirm this. And what we ended up finding out is couldn't be confirmed. And the police department actually ended up tweeting out themselves because it started to grow so much, to your point about these things get out there. And then at some point, whether it's true or not, it's out there. And it got to the point where the police department had to tweet to say, we can confirm this. We know nothing about this. We do not know if this is true or not. And then once that happened, that then became a part of the story. When the police department is talking about it, then we talk about what the police department is denying. But going back to what I was getting off my tangent there, one of the person who said he knew one of the cops who was there, fake, not a real account.
Hashtag fake news.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it was just a month or two ago when Oprah was the #1 trending topic on Twitter for an entire evening because a few fake accounts retweeted each other saying that she was trafficking children to other high-level celebrities. And Oprah was going to go to prison, and she was in charge of this massive ring of people. She came out a few hours later and said, absolutely false, and it was in no way remotely true. Twitter shuts down all of the tweets, whatever. But there were still 4 or 5 hours where Oprah was the #1 trending topic, and I would imagine her people all were scrambling to try to figure out what on earth this story was, how it happened, and then now she has to leave some form of address to actually address what's happening. And when you think about the fact that that was probably just a bored teenager that was smart enough to figure out how to operate Twitter bots, you could point and say fake news, it's not true, it was a fake story, but it wasn't really anybody. So I don't what is the solution to this when you think about all it takes is a bunch of trolls to really divert attention from one way or the other. You look at Donald Trump's rally just last week where tens of thousands of tickets are sold to fake people. And then all of a sudden there is now a heightened level of security expecting hundreds of thousands of people, and they're not there. And it was just a bunch of people on TikTok trolling. So what, I don't know, this isn't a question. I don't know what the solution is, because as technology advances and the younger generations figure out how to manipulate that technology for what's typically really humorous activity, but it is also very dangerous activity when you think about it. It's costly. It can be, it can ruin lives. There's other implications to it. So I don't know what the solution is unless Twitter comes out and says you have to scan your ID, and we're going to make sure that @J Wallis is J Wallis, and there is only one @J Wallis, and it's this guy who tweets, and when he tweets, you know it was him, and it wasn't. There's no bots. I mean, is that possible?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, actually. Is there a thing where it's like, is there a verified group of news communicators? Because when you say that, it makes a lot of sense. Like, why are we all allowed to just
I could
talk
create a
about
Twitter
whatever
account.
we want? That's
Exactly.
great. That's actually kind of crazy.
Yes, you could go to the library right now and create a Twitter account on an IP address that you do not own, and you could tweet whatever you want, and
That's
you could walk
insane.
out of there. And
Jay, tell us, what's the answer?
how do
Well,
we fix
before
this?
I wish I had the answer. I will give perspective, but before I give insight on the answer, I think it's also worth mentioning, and obviously I'm biased because I see great value in local news, but you brought up the question about fake news. I think it's important to realize fake news can come from many different places. It can come from a fake Twitter account. It can come from all sides of the political spectrum. It can come from many different types of social media sites. It's not just one place. It's not just one news station. It's not just one cable channel that has fake news or that has the potential to. I think it's journalists and people need to, it just goes back to what I was saying. Journalists and people need to be so careful what they trust, because we talked about earlier, it's so easy to craft our news intake to exactly what we want. And I think that's forcing people to also just kind of trust what they're given, trust what's fed to them. And it's important to look into different perspectives. I think what's also part of the issue is we have a generation that's grown up with the internet and social media and TikTok and Snapchat, MySpace. Never had one, by the way.
Really?
No. I did have, no, I didn't. I had AIM though.
Well, of course, you had to.
Had to have AIM.
Sure.
But I think what the part of the problem is, you have the generation that grew up with this thing, the internet, social media, and handles it a little loosely. That puts something that's in a tweet that they think's funny, or they manipulate it in a way and say something that's not true. And the older generation it's new to them, and they're going to oftentimes take it as truth. And so sometimes that crosses over where you have the younger generation kind of having fun with it, and the older generation taking what they see for truth, because hey, this is what's being typed out, this is what's being written, this is what's being said. And we're at an interesting point, as Kevin brought up, as the younger generations grow up. It's not just going to be the young kids that have lived their entire lives with social media and internet. It's going to be everyone, right? That it's going to get to a point where we're all just used to this. This is just a part of life for everyone. And I don't know how that's going to look and what's the solution going to be like. It's going to take people taking the time and effort to not just accept what's being fed to them. And hey, I'm including myself. If I do a story, if a local news station does a story and you want to kind of double check, is that statistic really correct? Did that person really say that? And you want to go do your own looking? Awesome. I don't see any harm in people being more informed. I don't see what that's going to hurt by allowing people to, as Kevin, you were talking about earlier, about getting different perspectives. And you hear one report say a certain way, and you want to do your own looking, your own research. I think that's great.
I get stressed out thinking about that, though, because I think one of the reasons that I actually don't engage with news as much as I probably should is because if I see something, I don't actually know if it's true. And if somebody sends me an article, I don't know if it's true. And if they're like, well, fact checked it, or I fact checked it. I'm like, where did you fact check it? Because everything has a bias, whatever source that leads you to the next source. And at the end of the day, unless you were there, which you totally weren't, I just think it's insane that at some point you're putting your nickel on somebody else and you're saying, what you're essentially communicating, let's just take you as an example, is you're saying, I've vetted Jay because I like Jay, but I also think Jay is, I want to say weird words here, a person of integrity, a person of character. I think that he values news, and I think that he values the truth. And I think that he's somehow able to put his bias aside for the greater, saying the greater good feels weird, but the greater objectivity. I think it's just really bizarre. So like, and I think one thing that irritates me about social media warriors and these civilian news reporters and whatnot is that they're just blasting information that it's like playing a game of telephone. You know, it was true the first time, and then every time it got communicated, it lost a bit of truth. It stresses me out, man. I'm going to be honest.
It's okay to know that people have lived a different life than you. If you see a story from someone who maybe has adopted, part of their family is adoption. If they do a story about adoption, it's okay to know that that person probably has an intimate relationship with the concept of bringing someone into your family through adoption, and that's something that means a lot to them. That's not to say I can't read a story or read an article where that person's talking about adoption. That just means I know that going in before I read, and let that be a part of the story, a part of your understanding of what you're reading. And that gets back to what I'm saying about find people, places, sources, websites that you trust, that you grow. Now, when I say trust, that's not saying these people don't have opinions. Just because you found someone you can trust doesn't mean they don't have opinions. They're never going to have opinion when they write that story. Sure, that's okay, but understand their opinions. Take the time to figure out, to learn about the people, the places you're getting your information from. And yeah, there are going to potentially be biases and opinions just like you have. But there's also going to be places that have a mission to give you the truth as best as they can. Like I said, I've never worked for a place where there's some hidden agenda, underlying motive. That's, sometimes you hear people talk about, well, that's the media and their hidden agenda. At least in my life, I don't know what that is. If it's out there, I guess I'm oblivious. I mean, I've worked for some great places that are fighting and trying and working to get good pieces of information to people. And I think it's okay to trust trust a person, a place, a site, while also taking the time to understand where they're coming from and why certain people might want to tell you certain stories that have truth embedded in the message.
All right, Jay, we've spoken a lot about media and news and your profession. Now let's talk about you as a person. I've said it already a few times in this interview. In my eyes, you are a successful person. You stepped out of college with a degree in journalism, with a goal of being a journalist, and you're doing it at one of the highest levels that you could possibly do it. And that's what we want people who are into the Final Vibe lifestyle to realize, that they can, if they put their mind to something, do it. So let's talk about how you do what you do. What does the day look like for you? First of all, what time do you work? Is it still that really, really early morning? Are you covering did you get that sweet spot in the afternoon? What is the sweet spot in media?
Well, the sweet spot honestly can be either early in the morning. I mean, it can be any time. I've done all three. I've had to wake up at 3 a.m. I've had to go into work at 2 p.m. and I'm currently going into work around 10 a.m.
Okay.
So then I work a little bit later than most people probably do.
And then in addition to just going into work and actually cranking out what you're putting on the air, you said that you're doing work outside of that to improve your knowledge on the programs that you use and the editing, and trying to keep yourself one step ahead of anybody else that might be behind you trying to take your spot. Because at the end of the day, journalism is a dog-eat-dog world, and you're eating a lot of it, and people are trying to probably take that spot. So walk us through a day in the life from just kind of a mental health standpoint, a physical health. What do you do to make sure that you are operating at the level that it takes to be who you are?
A way that keeps the job fresh for me is that every day is different. And it's a reason why I love journalism. I could be doing a story about a bakery, and then about mental health, and then about a guy who beat cancer in the most brilliant way, and then a county judge who I need to ask some tough questions to. Because I'm a news reporter that can cover anything and everything, and I can do it all. Every day is different. There's days where I'm doing a lot of shooting with my camera. There are days where I just do writing. There are days where I'm doing a really weird stand-up that takes an hour for me to shoot and edit and get together. Every day, I get to meet new people every day. And you brought up the word mental health. I feel like that helps me feel fresh, where I'm not having to do the same thing every day. And it's something that really got me hooked onto journalism. And when I realized I could soak in so many different relationships, I can meet so many different people that have so many different perspectives. And that's something that keeps this job so fresh to me, that every day is so different.
What does that mean for your everyday routine? If every day is so different and you like that, what does that mean for your habits?
Outside of my job, I try my best to have certain routines that I do every day, in how I cook, in when I go for a run. I make sure that if my workday can sometimes be hectic and stressful, I like the stress, hitting my deadline, making sure my work is up to par is good. When I exhale, when work is over, I make sure and take the time to put my head somewhere else. And
What's that look like?
Since I started working, I've lived it by myself every step along the way so far, and I've really gotten into cooking. I've cooked a lot of different ways, and even if it's just for myself, or even if it's simple, I enjoy having that time of the night when I'm cooking meals for myself. And some people think it might not be worth it, but I enjoy it.
Jay, how much protein do you eat per day?
Oh boy.
That's a good question. She asked me that last week.
I'm going to ask everybody.
Wow.
That's a great question. Do you know?
No, maybe I shouldn't, and maybe I need to know. I like ground turkey for breakfast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I do.
Ground
I do
turkey
ground turkey, some sweet potatoes, mix them together.
For breakfast?
Yeah. For
Okay.
breakfast.
I mean, I'm not offended.
You wake up at 3:30 p.m. That just seems like
Yeah, to be fair, it's an atypical breakfast.
Yeah.
Most people eat like eggs or something.
No, I usually like ground turkey and sweet potatoes.
When you say usually, you mean like every single day?
Well, usually it provides leftovers, so I usually will do it twice a week, and I have it for 4 breakfasts.
Yeah. Jay goes to Aldi and buys like 8 cases of ground turkey just so he's
My dinner,
always prepared for breakfast because it's coming every day.
my dinner pretty much is a rotation of chicken and fish.
very
Okay.
good.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. You eat vegetables or?
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, there's a meat and then usually a vegetable, but chicken and salmon are the staple. Salmon, I could eat
So
salmon.
you're not vegan?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
You're out on the job and you have to eat fast food no matter what because of a time constraint. What do you do? Where are you going?
That's tough.
No, it's not. Where are you going?
You're in Texas. You have
What's your
everything.
fast food choice?
Well, I mean, it's
Sometimes Kevin asks confusing questions. What's your favorite fast food restaurant?
Chick-fil-A.
Just kidding.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A?
What are you
Yeah.
gonna get?
Spicy chicken sandwich.
That's a good call. Yeah.
Fries?
Medium fry.
Medium fry? Wow.
What's
what are you dipping
sauce?
that in?
Yeah, what is sauce?
Only ketchup. The fries.
Wow.
Really?
I don't drink soda,
Right.
You shouldn't.
so water. I always have water with my milk.
Soda's probably terrible for you.
Well, do you know how much
Probably.
money I've hopefully saved?
Billions.
I was wondering why I got that extra zero in my bank account the other day, and it's because I'm not drinking soda.
That is good. That was a good question.
I like that, Kevin. Kevin, what are you eating for breakfast?
Who's interviewing you? Wow.
Hey,
Go
I'm
ahead.
a journalist.
Yeah,
I mean,
go
I've been
ahead.
That's
Go
great.
ahead.
craving
Wow.
asking
Answer
y'all
the man.
questions
Answer
the whole
the man.
time.
Oh, wow.
I think
we'll
it was-
do a fun round at the end where he gets to ask us some
I
questions.
like that. That's a great idea.
That's great. Phenomenal. Go ahead.
About 9 months ago, I ate it's called a Perfect Bar for the first time. They have them at Starbucks. They're like $4. It's a peanut butter based
It better be perfect.
bar. It is perfect. It is expensive. And it is maybe the most delicious treat that exists. Very high,
High
in fat,
praise.
low in every. Have you ever had it?
No, I said that was some high
Oh, it's
praise
high praise,
right there.
right.
Yeah,
It
that
is-
is big.
You're speaking in polarizing comments, Kevin.
I buy them by the box of 4, and I buy 2 boxes a week. So they're it's a daily treat.
That's
for
my
me.
entire food budget.
Did I say how much they cost? They're
Hey,
expensive
you said they're $4.
at Starbucks. Not if you buy them in bulk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've known Kevin long enough. If the listeners want to know, when he gets into something,
Oh, yeah. It
He
doesn't
is
matter. It doesn't
all
matter. Yeah,
in.
totally.
Give me one other
You-
example
you
of something
never
I've gone
dip
all
your
in.
Eating
toe,
out.
you never dip your toe
Eating
into
out.
a concept or an idea. When you
Eating
like
out.
it, it's going to be in your life for like the next 75 years.
And I
It's not a
look at-
bad thing,
I
Kevin.
look
Oh,
at that
no,
as a
it's
positive
just
trait.
how
Of
you
course.
are.
All right, good. All right. Well, all
That's
right.
not bad.
Oh, okay. Good. Just making sure it's not bad. All right, Jay, we're going to ask the question, the final vibe question. The reason why everybody is listening is because of this question. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, someone's going to look back on your life, and there's going to be just a couple bullet points that they're going to be able to jot down when they think about what you've accomplished. We call that legacy. And the goal of Final Vibe is to pursue a legacy that we're proud of. When you sit down and think about what you want those bullet points to be, what are they, and how are you working to accomplish those?
I think the answer to that question is complex, and I hope that people see it as complex when they look back at what I did and what I'm doing.
I'm also going to challenge Jay to not answer this like a news reporter.
Ooh, I like that.
Just be a guy. Just be a guy.
I hope that people will see the work I've done as something that goes beyond what I did on air and what I did at my job. I don't have a family right now, but I do hope to have a family. And I want to be active in my community. And that phrase might feel shticky, but I do want to be seen as someone wherever I'm living, wherever I settle down and have roots, which I have not done yet, that people see me as someone who cares about that city, not just through my words, but through my actions and through the life I'm building. I've always said that I love this job, but I don't want the job to define me. Yes, I'm a news reporter. Yes, I'm telling stories, but I just hope that I can create connections and build a life that allows that to be a part of it, but not all of it. My job is a huge part of my life, but it's not all of my life. And I hope that it's reflective of a bigger picture of my legacy, where my legacy isn't just what I did on a TV screen or on a cell phone, but it's also about the interactions and relationship I've built with my future family and the future people that will remain in my life that can see the change I hopefully made on air and in person. It's just something that I think is important for me to strive to be more than just a label, than just a news reporter. I want to be a person that people trust at a personal level. I didn't get into this for fame, because that might be a thing that is attached to a lot of legacies. How famous were you? How high of a market did you get to? What was the biggest story you covered? That's your legacy. Those things are great, but to me, those are things that happen along the way. I don't picture myself clinging on to a story I did, to an award I won, for a station I worked for a paycheck I earned. Those things are awesome and great, but I hope that I can build a legacy that's a little deeper than that at a personal level for the people I get to meet and build relationships with.
It's a good answer. I'm gonna press a little deeper.
Okay.
I think he was ambiguous, and
Press him.
I would. I'm gonna press him. 5 adjectives.
Okay.
So if we were to ask the people that mean the most to you, 5 adjectives to describe Jay, what would they be? Ideally. You know, because whatever you are, whatever we are today, doesn't have to be what we are tomorrow, and that's the whole point of Final Vibe. So, what are the ideal adjectives?
Empathetic, well-rounded, unique, hardworking, determined.
You throwing your hands up? You're not sure?
Well, I am someone who is very careful in ranking things and making lists and making determinations.
Sure.
So
No,
it's
I
off
get
the
it.
top of-
It's hard.
Hey.
I mean, if you asked me that, I'd be like, oh man,
Yeah.
like, can I change my answer tomorrow?
Yeah,
Where's your do you
sure.
have a thesaurus?
Okay. Lightning round at the end for some fun.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's just nice. Yeah. No, I will.
I was gonna say, speaking of ranking things.
Oh,
we should have
speaking
him
of him.
rank, movies and things.
If you want me to do any type of rankings with movies or TV shows, I have a top 100 movie list, a top TV show movie list that I created about 4 years ago, and I update it twice a year.
Top 100 movies?
Yeah.
Jay's
Kevin, have you
showing us
seen
his
100
phone right
movies?
now. No, there's no way I have. I've
Can you
seen Jay's
name
list
100
of-
movies?
No way, absolutely.
No
not.
way.
Jay's showing us a Google sheet right now that is,
Wow.
sure enough, complete.
That is
The words
impressive.
in blue have recently moved up or down. The words in green
It's
are
color
new.
coded.
The words in green are new additions that were not on the list beforehand.
I'm
So,
impressed.
I just had to have it prepped. If you
I'm
need to
impressed.
do
No,
that.
we'll get there. I'm going to bookmark that one. Favorite superhero movie?
I don't like superhero movies, but if
Okay,
you're going to
moving on.
Okay.
No, go
Dark
ahead.
Knight, if you count that,
Okay. My
100%
next question
I
was going
don't
to
count.
be.
I don't count it.
How do you not
It's not
count
a
it?
superhero movie. It's different. Next, no, doesn't count.
No. What are you even saying? What do you
It's
mean?
the
it's
way
not?
that
You know that
the,
Batman is in the movie, right?
No, the way that Nolan directs, the way that movie's made, that's not a superhero movie.
What are you saying?
No.
Defend
Next
yourself.
question.
No,
No.
not next question.
Next
Defend
question.
yourself.
These stereotypical.
Batman is, I think he was in it.
No, I don't count it in the superhero genre.
Oh, okay.
You can't compare.
What- I don't understand what you're saying.
You can't compare.
Is a banana a fruit?
You can't compare Dark Knight to Ant-Man. Those are two
I
completely
agree, but that's
different
because
movies.
Ant-Man is a garbage film.
I didn't say that.
I said that.
It's on his
This
list.
is Andrew White on the Final Vibe podcast. I've never seen the movie.
Fine.
Why would I?
Fine.
What does he do?
Fine.
What does he do?
Dark
Rally?
Knight.
Does he rally
Dark
the
Knight.
ants?
Yeah, but if you get a lot of ants,
I don't
you can accomplish a
understand.
lot.
You are going to get the Marvel community to come at you. Answer is Dark Knight.
What's Marvel? What is that?
Next.
That's how we go viral.
Marvel and DC are the two main superhero comic book worlds.
Yeah. Cool.
We could go viral by just bashing on Ant-Man and other Marvel movies and then go viral.
Yeah, I haven't even seen Ant-Man, to be honest with you.
I haven't
I've
either.
actually heard it's not too
But
bad.
why would you? What's your Chipotle order?
Burrito bowl, chicken, salsa, corn, lettuce, brown rice.
No beans?
No beans. Nope. No beans.
What's up with beans?
No beans.
I don't get beans
I
either.
like beans by themselves, but not added to other
Makes
things.
no sense.
Have you had
Exactly.
have you had the new queso at Chipotle?
I've not.
Okay, I like it quite a bit more than the old queso.
How do you feel about Panera?
It's a lot of bread.
A little bread.
It's a lot of bread. I just think, it's in the title, but whenever I think of Panera, I just think of bread.
It's not in the title. It's called Panera.
It's Panera bread.
Is it?
Oh, St. Louis bread company.
Kevin, stop it. I had Panera again today. I thought
Stop
about
doing it. Why are you doing this?
I thought about what I said, and I thought Panera Bread.
Nope,
Okay,
there's-
yeah, he
there's-
pulled it up on his phone. It does say Panera Bread.
Panera Bread bed.
What is
Panera
how many dollar signs are on that? when you look
Wow.
it up?
See, this is Kevin's beef.
2 of 5.
Yeah, 2 out of 5.
2 out of 2.
This is Kevin relying on ratings than personal experience that Andrew has.
Oh
I have plenty
boy.
of personal experience with Panera.
When you work out, what do you listen to? Do you work out? Do you care about your body?
Podcast, jazz, or rap.
Podcast, jazz, or rap? How do you decide?
That's how I'm feeling that day.
Oh boy.
Yeah, sure.
You wake up and you what kind of a day is it when you wake up and say it's a jazz day?
Jazz day, I'm feeling loose. It's
Feeling
gonna
saucy?
be a long workout.
Yeah.
Rap's
do
like
you,
I gotta go quick.
How do you feel about La La Land?
It is a phenomenal, wonderful movie. Well cast,
Sure.
well shot.
Sure.
Love that movie. Beautiful movie.
How many movies can we do with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone?
1.5. That's the over.
Wait, we already have 2, so it has to be above 2.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
I don't know if we needed 2. I'm fine with La La Land.
Is the Final Vibe
No.
audience ready for my opinions on Emma Stone? I don't think so. We'll save them.
La La Land was the first movie
That she
with Emma
was good
Stone
in?
that I liked.
Yeah, I completely.
Have you seen Crazy Stupid Love?
With
Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone?
no, I don't want to see that.
I don't understand.
I think Andrew likes
It's
Final
like one of the best movies.
I want more rapid questions. This is great.
He's very
Yeah,
good at the rapid
totally.
questions.
Can you do a Rubik's Cube? Can you solve a Rubik's Cube?
I was able to
Yes or
get
no,
my
can
Rubik's
you?
Cube. Yes, I could
Okay.
do it in about 36 seconds in 7th grade.
Wow.
Okay.
So you
yeah.
peaked.
I
That's
actually used to.
impressive.
I collect Rubik's cubes. I have a bag full of them in my closet, in my apartment. 3x3, 4x4, 5x5, different shapes, circles. Yeah, I have.
What do you call?
Did you know? I used
I've
to have
seen
them in
them for
college.
sure.
You've
I'm just
seen them.
wondering
Y'all
now, what
made
do
fun
you-
of them.
I did for sure. What do you call a Rubik's cube that is a circle?
A Rubik's sphere.
Is that what
I have no idea.
there's some-
I mean, it makes sense
I
to
don't-
me
I
in
don't
my
know.
head.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that one, but I remember making fun of you.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jay, do you drink energy drinks?
No.
That's good.
You drink coffee?
Nope.
So what do you? How do you?
That's not good.
How you? Like, what are you doing? How are you getting the energy?
Apples.
Wow.
No.
I did it in college. I still do it.
What do you mean? You think you get superpowers from apples?
Yeah.
You don't really believe that.
You have an extremely strict diet. How many calories do you eat a day? Like probably 1,700 for real. It's not very many.
I don't count as much.
But you could.
It's
not very-
always
not a high
sexier
number.
not
You
to
could-
count.
Sure, but
Yeah, I don't really count.
if you tried to count, it would be a low number. You probably could. It's like 4 apples and some chicken.
When I had all-nighters in college, I would eat 3 apples to stay awake.
Yo, I did not do
Any
that.
theories about why apples are really doing it for you?
Nope.
What kind of apples
Doesn't
are
care.
go-to? Or
Oh,
what?
Honeycrisp.
Honey
No
Crisp?
doubt.
Okay. So you don't have a lot of money. No, I mean you do and then you don't because you buy Honeycrisp. They're expensive.
Yeah, but then
Oh, I see. Okay,
yes,
right.
but also they're massive, and you can get 2 meals out of it.
No, an apple's not a meal.
Not a meal. It can be a part of 2 meals.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah,
It
sure.
can be a part of 2 meals.
I've
so,
never had a meal in my life where an apple was a part of it. Like,
oh my gosh,
I don't do apples.
do that all the
Fruit.
time.
I don't do apples.
Apples are great.
Yeah.
Honeycrisp. Have it for lunch. Have it for dinner. Have it for dinner. Then lunch
Aren't
the
your
next day.
hands sticky for the rest of the day? I feel like I eat an apple and then
No,
you
I
gotta
then
take a
actually I have an
shower.
orange for dessert and have orange under my nails too. So
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's gross.
Yeah, I can tell if someone's eaten an orange in the last like 45 days.
What's your preferred sleeping position?
stomach.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think that's good. I think that's like legitimately bad.
That's the only bad one.
You can do whatever you want.
Except
Sometimes back. Honestly, I do both. Back or stomach. Never side. I don't know what that is.
What do you mean? That's like the best position.
No.
what size mattress do you have?
Oh. What's
Full.
between no, what's before queen? The one
Just
below
a
queen.
Twin?
Full.
No, twin something. No, it's full. Yeah, full. That's it. Full.
That's respect. That's a respectable answer for a
I had
bachelor,
single
for a
match,
bachelor.
that's a
Yeah.
great-
I had a twin until I moved to Dallas. I had a twin up to age 26.
Yeah, I'm cool
I've
with
had a
that.
king bed for 10 days. The last 10. Like
Oh
we just
yeah,
got
we might
one.
have to get to that.
We should. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it right now. But
Are you a brand snob?
No.
For anything, nothing. Do you buy good toilet paper? Do you save money? You pinch pennies,
Is Honeycrisp?
or do
a
you wipe
brand?
100 times? Well, those would be the same actually.
I buy in bulk, I will say, because I live by myself. I have the room, so I might as well buy 35, 36 things of.
You heard it here, people. Jay is the reason that you can't buy toilet paper. He's the reason you have to go to Home
Not
Depot to buy
with my
toilet
sentence. I was actually talking about paper towels in my head. Not
Costco
toilet.
or Sam's Club?
Yeah.
How do you buy these in bulk? Costco?
Costco.
paper. Blondes or brunettes?
Brunettes.
Seems a little judgmental. Nobody picks, you know.
Wow. All right.
What's your middle name?
Nelson.
We'll cut that. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Grandfather's name.
Least
So
favorite,
thanks for that.
3 least
I'm
favorite
named after
stores
my
at the
grandpa,
mall is
yeah.
still my favorite question. He called me up last week. We're just sitting here. He goes, "What are your 3 least favorite stores at the mall?"
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Well, then I said, "What's your favorite mall walking activity?" And he didn't have one. Wait, no, did I
Tony
say
texted
mall
me about-
walking activity? I said what? I said, "What is your favorite mall activity?"
Tony texted me and said his favorite part was when I said, "We just go in, we got jeans, and we got out of there."
Yeah, I mean,
He
Can I
texted
go
me and said-
back?
oh, where do you buy your jeans, Jay?
Can I go back and say on the record that brunettes and blondes are equally great?
No, I don't think we're going to
Sure.
put that back in.
Okay, sounds
Sure.
great.
Whatever makes
Jeans.
you feel good.
Old Navy.
Really?
I have Old Navy jeans on right now.
Do you go there every week? Because they fall apart. How do you feel about the skinny jeans trend on men?
I'm okay with it as long as it doesn't get to a certain point. Once it's like skin tight,
Yeah, that's fair.
but no, but I think it's
I've
fine.
been there. I
Yeah,
wore 'em, I'll
I
be
have
honest.
skinny jeans, but there are certain slacks and jeans in the skinny brand that are too skinny for me. So I think it's actually for me. It depends on what brand of skinny I'm wearing. Some skinny are too skinny. Some skinny.
No,
I'm cool
I get
with.
it. You don't like hyper skinny.
No.
Yeah.
Well, it's just uncomfortable.
It doesn't
for me.
make. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Especially jeans are supposed to be
Yeah.
semi-comfortable.
What they're supposed to be? What do you mean? What does that mean?
I mean, I know I'm not wearing shorts, but I'm also not in a tuxedo, so I should be comfortable in my jeans. Somewhat.
You should be comfortable in your jeans.
I think so. I think I should.
Do you not think jeans are a comfortable thing to wear?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. What
That's
you're
not what he
getting at.
said. You're asking me if I think they're comfortable, and he's saying that you should be comfortable.
Well,
in your
Jay
jeans.
Wallis, I should. I feel like I should. This is a personal.
Oh, okay, it's
decision.
personal. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm fine
yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
I'm not
you
saying
just
people.
Said
I'm not saying people should.
you
I'm
should
saying
be comfortable
I
in
should.
your jeans.
I should. Yeah.
I have a serious problem with the word "should."
Oh, okay.
You know,
It's a personal.
should you
decision.
eat a high protein diet?
If you want.
Exactly. If you want to. He nailed it. I thought you were gonna fail.
Oh no, yeah. If you want.
I
to.
was lobbing you a grenade,
Oh,
like we were playing t-ball in the backyard. Let's end on this because I know that you want to talk about your favorite movies. So what are they? Why do you like them? And give me a couple movies that you really don't like, because that always entertains me a little bit more personally.
This is great. I grew up with TCM, which is Turner Classic Movie, on my TV screen. It's what our parents were interested in, so I grew up watching old movies. My brother and I started getting into just the Academy Awards and different types of movies beyond what people in our age bracket were watching. So, growing up, I oftentimes had friends ask me about movies, and I always got the question, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite movie? And I could never do it because I didn't want to commit to it. I didn't want to because
Such a millennial.
that's a big no. I don't like dealing in hyperboles. It's the best ever. It's the
No,
greatest
that's not
ever.
what anyone said.
They said, "What's your favorite movie?"
Yeah,
Favorite's
that's
the
a different,
top.
It's
It's
a different
one.
question.
Well, I think it's within the realm of having something be the best, your favorite, number one.
Let me help you out.
Okay.
Name what are 5 movies that you enjoyed more than most?
No, I'll give you my list.
Oh.
I have it.
I need to know.
I'm
the
giving
list.
you the context for why I made the list.
I can't.
Oh.
That's what I'm doing here.
He just wanted. People were badgering you.
Not badgering me, very generally curious.
Sure,
And
that's
I
fair.
was like, you
That's
know what?
fair.
I'm going to make a list so that I can tell people this is my favorite movie. I am confident and happy, and please argue with me. I love a healthy conversation for why I'm wrong.
How do you argue
For-
about movie preferences?
For-
Oh,
my
I
gosh,
just
it's his
talked.
favorite thing to do.
Yeah,
I'll
have
I'll probably do it.
multi-hour conversations with people about one movie.
I think that for our own listening analytics, start with 5 and then go to 1, just so that people listen a little.
It's great.
Everybody's on the edge of their seat right now.
Great.
They're dying to know.
Great.
Oh, geez, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Great. I'm going to go 10-6 rapid fire, 5-1. We can go slower.
Boom, boom. Okay. I love it.
Yeah. No one cares about number 10.
10 Reservoir Dogs.
Sure.
Never seen it.
9 The Prestige.
That needs to be higher. Go ahead.
8, this is controversial. I have not broken up this trilogy, and I'm thinking about next time I re-update my list, I'm going to break them up. So it's a little bit of a cheat here, but it's my list, so I'm going to cheat.
Yeah, no rules.
Lord of the Rings.
8 is Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Okay.
7, Catch Me If You Can.
Sure.
6, Strangers on a Train, Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
5, The Conversation. Look it up.
Is that a Netflix special?
Was Hitchcock Rear Window?
Yes.
You talking like Alfred Hitchcock? Like
Yeah.
Knife in the Shower?
Yeah, not Jeff Hitchcock.
Who's Jeff?
I don't know.
All right, go ahead.
Number 4. You ready for this? Wall-E.
Wow. I just watched the first half of Wall-E the day that Disney Plus came out.
Not a lot of dialogue in the first half of the movie.
Nope.
Totally encapsulated.
As soon as they started talking, I turned it off. Just kidding.
Love Wall-E. 3, Glengarry Glen Ross.
Okay.
2, The Sting. Number 1, Inception.
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
I have seen that. I saw that movie 3 times the year it came out. One time a year since. I make sure and I watch it at least one time every year
Interesting.
to keep it fresh and to make sure. Yes, is this my favorite movie? And I watch it and I say, yeah, this is my favorite movie of all time.
What's number 11?
Number 11
just
is
wanna know.
Groundhog Day.
How do you? I don't think 100 top 100. Do you really like number 100?
Yeah. Number 100
do
is
you?
number 100.
Like if you ask me, Andrew, what's your 100th favorite
You'd be
movie?
like, I don't know. I haven't seen that many yet.
Yeah,
Let
I'd
me
be
tell
like,
you in a couple of years.
probably it probably is Luck of the Irish or Brink. Actually, Brink is legitimately top 5.
Gravity 71.
I think if it's a Disney Channel original movie, it's in a
Pan's
league of its
Labyrinth
own.
62.
I've
Jerry
heard-
Maguire 55.
I've heard of 3 movies. He's
Coco
mentioned.
50. 3 Billboards of Ebbing, Missouri 43.
I saw that one.
Jay, do you like horror movies?
Funny you asked. I'm going through horror movies right now. It's the genre I'm digging right now.
I'm digging it.
There aren't very
Halloween.
You know what I want after a long day at the job? Blood,
Do you know I also do
death,
You know I also do
demons.
Do you know I also do lists, separate lists, top 5s and top 10s of certain categories?
Would you consider yourself a sociopath?
On some days.
That's the most sociopath answer you could have had.
Let me add context. I do it with my brother who I'm close with, and we talk about it on the phone. We debate.
Doesn't make
You
any
debate whether or not you're a sociopath?
Yeah, no, that's on Tuesdays, but on Thursdays
He's done.
we do our lists and we talk about it. It's fun.
Kevin, I'm going to cue you up for the outro here. I think you need to send us into the abyss.
Top horror movie all time, Halloween, 1978.
Stop. All right, Kevin, wrap us up here. Let these people go. We've had a good conversation with Jay. What do you want to leave people with?
Fantastic conversation with Jay. Thank you again for
Of
taking
course.
the time. We really do appreciate the time, Jay. I think this was a fascinating conversation for everybody to dive into a world that they are all a part of, but probably don't have a person that they can associate with it to ask these questions to. So WFAA, the ABC affiliate in Dallas, Texas. Jay, where can people find you if they want to know more about you and what you are doing?
Check it out on Twitter, WFAA J Wallis, Facebook J Wallis, YouTube J Wallis. That is with an IS, WALLIS. Love it, guys. Really glad to be here.
And it's Jay.
It is JAY.
Yep.
Thank you. JAY
no
and then
problem.
Wallace with an IS.
I just don't want any friction points, people trying to find you on the web.
It's the
There
worst
you go.
thing. Yeah.
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.
Kevin, if people got inspired to think a little bit more about their own legacy, they want to know a little bit more about Final Vibe and how they can jump into the community, where can they find us?
And we're finalvibe.com. The website has any and everything you will need to know. We're also on social media at Final Vibe. You can find out all kinds of information about what we spoke about today and all of the future fun things we're going to do. Until then, Jay, thanks again. We're going to catch you guys next week for episode 5. Thanks so much for listening.